Right, everyone's heard of BBs, but it's not until you start playing Airsoft that you realise there's different variations of them. So a lot of new players find it a bit difficult choosing which BBs are right for them, and also choosing a good quality BB as well. But that's what your friends at BZ Tactical are here for. In this video, we're going to be showing you what all the different weights of BBs are good for, what do we recommend them for, how to find the BB weight that's right for you, and we're also going to be telling you how to spot a good quality BB as well and avoid putting bad BBs through your gun. But before we get going, if you're already in Airsoft, head to the comments and tell us what is your BB of choice. Tell us down below. Right, when it comes to BBs, there are often a few misconceptions. One of the main ones being that the lighter you go, the further it travels. Now, for the purposes of this video, we'll be exclusively talking about Rebel Precision BBs, but of course there are plenty of other great brands out there. This isn't to push you to buy Rebel BBs, this is just, of course, what we have every single weight of. That's not necessarily the case here, guys. When it comes to finding the BB that's right for your gun, we're looking for the Goldilocks approach here. Not too light and not too heavy. Yes, heavier weight BBs do have the potential to give you better performance, range and accuracy, but only if your gun can handle it. Think of it like vodka. Yes, it will get you drunk quicker, but if you're a lightweight, it will also have you hitting the floor quicker as well. Now, if you've ever chronoed an airsoft gun, or you've seen BZ chrono an airsoft gun in one of our videos, you'll know that lighter weight BBs actually leave the barrel of an airsoft gun faster than heavier weight BBs. They have a higher FPS, but if you paid attention in your school science class instead of burning people's hair with a Bunsen burner, then you'll know that because of air resistance, they actually slow down a lot quicker, making them less reliable and have a shorter range than heavier weight BBs. So we're going to drill down into the most common weights of BBs, and we're going to tell you which players that we recommend them for. We're also going to explain the different types of BBs and give you some tips on finding the best quality BBs. Also, at the end, if anyone's interested, we're going to include a bit of information that we've learned from manufacturing BBs. So if you don't know, Rebel Precision is a BZ homegrown brand. We have thousands upon thousands of bottles made in Taiwan every year that get distributed across the UK. Over 100 sites and shops around the UK have stocked BBs from Rebel Precision in the last couple of years. And we've picked up a thing or two in that time. So if you want to learn about what went into picking the right BBs to go in Rebel Precision bottles and the things that we've learned from that experience, and do stick to the end. It's quite interesting, at least in my opinion anyway. Right, let's get down to it. In general, there's about 5 different types of BBs. You've got standard plastic BBs, you've got biodegradable BBs, you've got coloured BBs, which we don't actually stock here at BZ. We've got tracer light up BBs, and finally there are floor BBs. Avoid these at all costs. As tasty as they look, avoid the floor BBs. You know who you are. We've seen what you've done. Let's start at the very bottom of the weight scale with 0.12 gram BBs. Very few airsoft shops actually carry these BBs. They're most commonly known as yellow BBs because most of them are coloured yellow. If you went to a seaside town as a kid and you begged your parents for a BB gun and had those little yellow pellets inside of the BB gun, that is what we're talking about. 0.12 grams are too light for any airsoft gun. Please avoid them at all costs. If you ever seen them out, see them online or whatever, don't buy them for your airsoft gun. They will not work properly with your gun and they'll do more bad than good. Don't think you're just getting a really good deal on some cheap BBs. The only thing that they might be good for are super cheap spring pistols, like the ones you get in a seaside town random shop, or if you're using them for like airsoft grenades, you can maybe get away with them, but you probably want to stick to the other weight BBs that we're going to show you right now. So the lowest weight BB that you'll tend to find in airsoft shops are 0.2 gram BBs. Now, we don't really recommend these for any player. These are slightly too light. They're mainly made for testing. If you buy a gun, you might get a pack of 0.2 BBs inside the packet. These are also mainly used by rental players. So if you go play a rental airsoft, this is most likely what will be put in your magazines. You can maybe use them in really low-end, low-power rifles or pistols, but in general, we tell you to avoid this and jump up. And the next weight up is 0.25 grams. These are ideal for indoor play, Most sights indoors will have a limit of either 0.25 or 0.28. Or they're also designed for pistols. Most airsoft pistols are really designed with 0.25s in mind. So if you're using a pistol, you're playing indoors, or you're running a lower end AEG, then you want to get yourself some 0.25 grams. And obviously 0.05 grams is a big jump up compared to the 0.2 grams. So you'll see, like with the other weight variants, they're either 0.02 or 0.03 grams in difference, but with this it's 0.05. That just goes to show you how light the 0.2s are, and why we don't really recommend going for the 0.2s. Go up to the 0.25s, it'll make a lot of a difference. Now ideally, if you're playing outdoors, you want to be using 0.28 gram BBs. Not every gun out of the box will be able to lift 0.28, but if you've got a mid to higher range AEG or gas blowback rifle, you should be able to handle 0.28 out of the box. 0.28s are like that sweet spot. They're about right for most rifle users. Unless you've really upgraded your gun or you've got a very, very high-end gun, 0.28 is probably where you're going to be at. Now there are some upgraded guns that will be able to lift 3s and 3.2s straight out of the box, but in general, these are more reserved for people who have upgraded their guns, especially when it comes to battery-powered rifles. Upgrades can include a new precision inner barrel, a new hop unit, even a new gearbox, or HPA in it. One of the most simple upgrades you can do to your gun to increase what BB it can lift is by changing out the hop rubber. May not seem like much, but this little piece of rubber does a lot of difference when it comes to lifting heavier weight BBs. You'll see on the packaging that these little things come with a guide on the side with different colours on to show you the different hardness degrees. So this one's the lowest hardness level, which is green, and it goes right up to 80 degrees, which is almost as hard as me.
Oh, look out! Prince Harry's had a few drinks and now he thinks he's hard.
I am hard.
The harder your hop rubber, the more potential it has to lift heavier weight BBs. Your gun itself has to be powerful enough to be able to handle those BBs as well, but if you don't have a good strength hop rubber as well, you're not really going to get very far. And finally, for snipers, we have got the heavier weight BBs. These are typically 0.36, 0.4s and 0.43s. You can get higher weight BBs than this, but the quality control can differ a lot once you get past the 0.43 mark. Obviously, sniper rifles require a longer range compared to standard rifles, which is why they require a heavier weight BB. In general, a good sniper rifle should be lifting at least 4s. This is typically the sweet spot for sniper rifles. Some can go up to 4.3s if you've got a really good sniper. If you've got a lower end sniper, you probably just want to stick to a 3.6s. Not only do they give you a longer, more accurate shot, but heavier weight BBs are less impacted by wind and branches and leaves as well. But that isn't to say these are exclusively for snipers. If you've got a really souped up rifle, you might be able to get away with using one of these weights of BBs. We've got a colleague here, Joe, he's appeared in a couple of our videos. He has a Tokyo Marui Sega 12 that he's HPA'd and upgraded, and he shoots 0.4s through that thing. Trust us, it's not fun getting shot by one of them, and it's probably not that fun on Joe's bank account either on a game day. If you want to upgrade your airsoft gun but you don't know where to start, drop us an email. We have a dedicated tech centre that's open 5 days a week. So if you are looking for a more stable, accurate shot that'll fly straight and fly for longer, we do recommend going up in BB weight, but only if your gun can handle it. There's no point going too high if your gun's not powerful enough. If you've got a pistol, we probably recommend sticking to 0.25s. If you're playing indoors, stick to 0.25s as well, unless the site that you play at allows 0.28s, then preferably you can go up to that as well. If you're playing outdoors and you've got a low end rifle, probably stick to 0.25s, maybe try on 0.28, see how you get on with those. But in general, if you've got a decent rifle, or if you've done a couple upgrades here, you've swapped out that hop rubber, etc., you should be playing on at least 0.28, and then you can test the waters with 3s, maybe even 3.2s if your gun is handling 0.3s comfortably. Also, when it comes to finding the right BB weight for you, check what the manufacturer recommends. In the manual for a gun, should give you a recommended BB weight. Try and go by that. You might be able to jump up 1 or 2 depending on if you upgrade it, but that's a good guideline. Also, ask other players what they run on their guns as well. Facebook groups, Discords, Reddit, anything like that. Ask players what they recommend. And also, if you're looking for a good quality brand, ask them as well. We see it all the time in Facebook groups. Player feedback is the most honest way of finding the right BBs for you. So the heavier the weight, the more accurate the shot should be, as long as your gun can handle it. Right, it's starting to sound like a visit to my mum's house here, because all we've done is talk about weight.
my God, you've gotten fat.
Let's change the subject and talk about tracer BBs. Tracer BBs are basically like UV BBs that light up when passed through a tracer unit. We've got several bottles of our tracer BBs looking beautiful right behind me. So these are ideal for either playing in outdoor night games, playing CQB indoors, or playing in speedsoft competitions. What you do is you fill your magazine full of tracer BBs, you attach your tracer unit on the end of your rifle, and as the BB passes through the tracer unit on the end of your barrel, this will give it with a shot of UV. So as your BB travels, it'll light up and you can track the path of your BB. This is great because one, it just looks really cool. It looks like you're shooting laser beams at someone, but two, for competitive play, for speed softers, this means that it's easier to track the flight of your BB and if it's hit somebody. Tracer BBs tend to come in two colors, green and red as well. We've just launched these brand new red Rebel Tracer BBs, but in general, the most common color is green. These are most popular because they shine brighter compared to most other colors. There are some brands that do blue and purple Tracer BBs, etc. But in general, green is the color that most brands go for, and they may have red as well. Which one you use is kind of personal preference. If you're looking for the brightest tracer unit possible that'll glow the most, go for a green Tracer BB. The reason why some people go for red Tracer BBs is one, some people just prefer the color. Two is that they match real tracer ammunition more realistically with the color. And three, some people use these as empty mag detection as well. So especially in a competitive environment like a speedsoft tournament, you want to know when you're about to run out of BBs before you actually run out, so you can do a quicker reload. So the last 10 BBs in your round, you might have as red Tracer BBs, and then the rest you have as green. Once you start seeing those red Tracer BBs flying, you know you're about to run out of ammo, so you can quickly swap your mag out before you actually run out. The most common weight for Tracer BBs is 0.25s, as most people using them are playing indoors or they're playing them in speedsoft tournaments like the NSL. Rebel Precision is the official BB of the NSL, if you didn't know. But our brand Rebel Precision goes all the way up to 0.32 grams in Tracer BBs. We get asked all the time, where can I get 0.32 gram Tracer BBs? Where can I get 3 gram BBs on Tracer BBs from? Because not every brand stocks heavier weight Tracer BBs. Hardly any brands do. But if you're playing outdoors in a night game and you need heavier Tracer BBs, Rebel Precision has got you covered, available from across the UK. Then we have coloured BBs, which we mentioned earlier in the video. We don't stock them here at BZ. Basically, these are just like standard BBs, but rather than being white, they're usually black or some other colour. These are used mainly for just a colour preference. We have seen pink BBs from Amarok last year, but the most common colour of non-white BBs and non-tracer BBs is black because they're more stealthy, less likely for your enemy to see a shot approaching you, but they're not as common because they're also less hard to track yourself. You're not going to be able to track the flight of the BB as good as a standard white BB. And you're also not going to be able to tell if a hit landed as accurately as a white BB. So most people tend to stay clear of them unless you really have that preference, or some snipers like to use it for stealth reasons as well. And of course, there are biodegradable BBs. Some sites will only allow you to play with biodegradable BBs, but there's a bit of a myth surrounding bio BBs. If you've got a good quality brand of bio BBs, they're going to be just as good as standard plastic BBs. The average player isn't going to see the difference between the two, but because of how they were manufactured back in the day, when they first came out, bio BBs were absolute trash. They would disintegrate in the barrel. They've left a really bitter taste in a lot of players' mouths. That means there's a common misconception that bio BBs aren't as good as standard BBs. That's no longer the case unless you're storing them in direct sunlight in a pool full of water where they're gonna biodegrade. As long as you keep them in a cool, dry place, standard BBs and bio BBs are going to shoot about the same. In fact, because of our experience working with a BB manufacturer to make Rebel Precision BBs, we know that you may actually be shooting bio BBs without even realizing it, especially if you shoot heavier weight BBs.
The deception! The betrayal!
They may not have mentioned it on the packaging, or they may not have actually put it through the biodegradable testing that's required to actually market them as bio BBs, but a lot of brands, because of how BBs have to be made, especially heavier ones, these BBs may actually be biodegradable without you even knowing them. So you could be slagging off bio BBs, but you might actually be shooting them themselves. especially if you're shooting heavier weights. In fact, all of our heavier weight BBs from 3.2 up are actually biodegradable. Right, we've talked about weight, we've talked about types, now let's move on to quality. Right, before we get started, it has to be said, no matter what quality control a BB brand has, no matter what reputation a BB brand has, they're gonna have some bad batches of BBs. You'll see it all the time, people arguing about the quality of a BB brand. Some people will absolutely swear by it and they'll have used them for years and they will never have an issue. Then there'll be other players saying they're using the exact same BBs and they've had tons of issues with them and they've used them once and they've smashed inside the barrel and they'll never use it again. No matter how good quality your BBs are, when you're making millions of them every single day, you've got to think that one bottle alone of Rebel Precision includes 3,300 BBs. When you're making millions of tiny balls every single day, some of them aren't going to be up to the high quality standards that you set, no matter which brand you are. So yes, it is possible to get a bad batch of BBs, but if that does happen to you, if you buy some BBs that are meant to be high quality, you take them home and you have problems with it, speak to the store you bought them from or speak to the manufacturer themselves. They may be able to sort you a replacement. We've done it with our brand. Not every single person who picks up a bottle of Rebel has had a fully positive experience. I'm going to say that 99.9% of people who have had a really positive experience with them. We wouldn't have grown into one of the biggest BB brands in the UK, stocked by over 100 sites and shops in the past 2 years, if we didn't really have really high quality BBs. I'm going to talk to you about what went into finding the best quality BBs for our brand in a second, but even with us, we're going to have some players have issues with them. About 5 or 6 people in the last 2 years reach out to us and say they've had a problem with the BBs and they don't like them. What we've done is we've sent them back. We've had the customers send them back to us. We'd analyze them, see if there's any quality problems with them, and we've sent them a fresh bottle back in return. And every single time we've done that, the player has come back to us and they've given us really positive feedbacks. It turns out it was just a bad batch of BBs. So these things happen. So don't let a bad experience put you off straight away. But there are a few things that you can look out for to find a good quality BB. First of all, you want to look for diamond grade BBs. A lot of BBs will have diamond grade on the packaging or in the description on the website or whatever. These basically just mean higher quality BBs. A lot of BB brands these days make diamond quality. It's not like they're really hard to find. You'll find that most BBs that aren't super cheap will be diamond quality. We don't recommend going for really cheap BBs. So if a store's selling a BB that is like way below the price of other BBs in the same weight and current quantities, there's a chance it might be too good to be true. So never take that risk because it may do more harm than good. It may end up costing you a lot more in the long run. If it doesn't state that it's diamond grade, you want to make sure that it's a high polished BB and it's seamless. That's very important. And also you want to make sure that it's got a 0.01 millimeter tolerance when it comes to the size of the BB. Those are 2 great signs to look out for. By polished and seamless, we mean that it doesn't have a line where 2 halves of the BB have been fused together running across the BB, and it doesn't have any dents inside of the BBs. Obviously, if you've got a bag full of dented BBs, you're going to be able to see that visually straight away. But when you open up the bag, if you take a look at the BBs inside, if it's a new brand that you've never shot before, take a look through a handful of the BBs. If you're finding a lot of dents inside those BBs, then they're probably not the best quality. Another really important thing when it comes to the quality of a BB is weight consistency. This is often overlooked. Most people just focus on the size and the polish of a BB, but weight consistency is arguably one of, if not the most important thing when it comes to a good BB brand. Any BB brand can make a polished BB, but not every single brand that gets weight consistency correct. If you buy a bottle of 0.28 gram BBs, you're going to be wanting to shoot 0.28 grams or as close to that as possible with every single shot. You've got to think if moving up 0.02 grams in weight on a BB is enough to require a whole new bottle of them, then weight consistency is super important. If your weight isn't consistent, then your shot's not going to be consistent as well. If one BB is 0.28, but then another BB is 0.275, and one's 0.285, and one's even 0.29, then every single time that BB comes out the barrel, if they're different weights, they're going to shoot in a different way. They're going to have a different flight path. So if you find that your BBs are shooting really inconsistently, That could be the problem. You could have a BB brand that doesn't have great weight consistency, and you may need to swap to a different brand. Unfortunately, unless you weigh all your BBs individually, you're not really going to be able to tell this until you start shooting. But if that's something you find, if you find you have a really inconsistent shot, then it could be the weight consistency of the BBs that you're using. Another important thing to look out for is residue and dust inside the bottle. If you open up your bottle and there's loads of dust in there, it could mean that the BBs themselves aren't packaged in the same factory that they're produced. This was a big thing when we were looking for our own BB brand. Some BB brands manufacture them in one country, ship them somewhere else to then be bottled. In this time, dust and debris can fall into the bottle, can fall onto the BBs, and then when you're bottling them, those little tiny specks of dust can make some difference. And residue as well from the manufacturing process. If you find BBs that have a lot of residue and they leave a lot of residue inside of your gun, this can cause problems, especially with competitive players. We speed with Speedsoft a lot. We work with a lot of Speedsofters, given the fact that we produce the official BB of the NSL, one of the biggest Speedsoft leagues in the world. They talk to us all the time about how important it is for BBs to have as little residue as possible on them. So they'll tend to wash them. Actually, we'll talk about that in a second. But the feedback we've had from a lot of Speedsofters is that our BBs have very little residue on them. So if you're shooting BBs and you find a lot of residue inside of your gun, then probably best you swap to a different brand. Now, we're not asking you to get your marigolds on and put some fairy liquid in the sink and start scrubbing away individual BBs. This is just a way of some players use to get extra residue off the BBs before they go inside the gun. This is mainly competitive players. This is mainly Speedsoft. There's people who are putting thousands of rounds through their guns in one day. Obviously, if you've got loads of residue on your BBs, over time this is going to build up and cause issues with your guns potentially. So they wash them beforehand. The average player does not need to do this. If you pick a good quality BB like Rebel Precision in the first place, then you won't really have to do this at all. But average player from game day to game day, you're not going to have to wash your BBs. Don't worry about that. Also, if you're using bio BBs, definitely do not wash them. That isn't to say though you shouldn't clean out your barrel regularly. No matter how good the quality of your BBs are, make sure you are cleaning out your barrels regularly just so that your gun is running as smoothly as possible. Get yourself a barrel cleaning kit like this Airsoft stick from EMG. These are just $19.99 from BZ Tactical. Once you've got your BBs, it's important to store them in a cool, dry place, preferably in a closed bottle or bag away from sunlight. So all of those quality tips that I've just mentioned to you there, we took all of those and we traveled over to Taiwan and we tried to find our own BB manufacturer back in late 2022. This is how Rebel Precision was born. We went over to Taiwan, we went and visited several different BB manufacturers to find the best one. We wanted to visit them all in person to see what their standard of quality control inside the factory was like, and then take away samples from each manufacturer and independently test them so we could find the most consistent BBs possible. And in the end, there was one manufacturer that stood head and shoulders above the rest, and it is the one we went with Rebel Precision. And in fact, no other UK BB brand uses the same manufacturer as Rebel Precision. We've got an exclusive contract here in the UK. So if you're shooting Rebel, these aren't going to be the same as any other BB. A lot of BB brands are just a label swap of another BB brand. BLS is a very, very popular manufacturer of BBs. They make BBs for several huge brands. So when you're shooting different brands BBs, there's a good chance that they've all been made by the same manufacturer, but not when it comes to Rebel Precision. You're not going to find another BB in the UK that's the same high quality as ours. And the reason we know that the highest quality BB, at least in our opinion, is because we went out there and tested them themselves. We saw the quality control in several different BB factories. We took samples of each BB home and we tried them. We individually weight tested each BB. That was our biggest thing for us. We checked for dents and seams in the BBs themselves. Obviously that is the main thing most people check for, but we also got out our little tiny digital scales and we were individually testing different BBs to see which BBs had the best weight consistency, which Rebel Precision did. Other people have tested this as well. There was a person on YouTube called Red Jester Airsoft. He himself independently decided to test our BBs against another brand's because he didn't quite believe some of the claims people were making about how good the quality was when we first launched them. He did a video about it himself. We had no involvement, we had no idea he was even doing it. He put it out, and Rebel Precision BBs, there was 3 different categories of quality, weight consistency being one of them. He tested this against another very popular brand, and Rebel Precision came out on top in all 3 categories. Another reason we went with who we went with in order to produce Rebel Precision BBs is that they had a really high standard of quality control in their factory. We went to one factory in particular, I won't say who it was, but however, with the manufacturer that we've gone with, they have insane quality control. They actually have one person whose sole job is to manually check trays full of BBs. They'll randomly take samples of BBs as being manufactured, and they'll check them for inconsistencies and imperfections by eye as they're being made. It's insane. Also as well, when we were first developing the heavier weight BBs for Rebel Precision, the first batch, our manufacturer wasn't happy with them. They were fine, but they weren't up to the high quality standards that we have and they have. So they remade them completely out of their own pocket to make sure they were 100% high quality, the standard that we would expect here at BZ. So we know that every single time we get a batch of Rebel BBs, a fresh batch into the UK, like we just did this week at time of recording, we know that they're up to the highest quality standard. Of course, there are going to be some of you watching that completely disagree with me, so please do tell us, what is your BB brand of choice and what weight are you shooting? But that's about everything that you need to know about BBs. Hopefully this has helped you decide on which weight of BB you need to use, helped you pick a good quality BB brand, and also give you a little bit of insight into what goes on behind the manufacturing of BBs as well. But if you still have any questions about BBs or anything airsoft related, please do let us know in the comments. And as always, remember to like this video, subscribe to BZ for more airsoft content, and thank you for watching, guys.